I'm Eddie Muller, welcoming you to another trip down Noir Alley. Now, Joan Crawford's incredible career wasn't confined to the film noir era, but few performers, male or female, made so many terrific films that could be considered noir. Now, you'll get an argument from the sticklers who don't want Crawford's soap operas to be considered in the same vein as male-centric classics like The Maltese Falcon, Double Indemnity, Out of the Past, all films in which a male protagonist succumbs to the temptations of a femme fatale. Some believe this is de rigueur in noir. Crawford worked the other side of that street. In such fantastic films as Possessed, Humoresque, and Sudden Fear, she plays women whose lives suddenly spiral out of control, sometimes fatally, when they fall for the wrong guy. In other words, the homme fatale. Now, in Mildred Pierce, perhaps her greatest movie role, Crawford sacrifices her life for a very unexpected la personne fatale, her own daughter. But of all the noir-stained films Crawford made, and there are plenty, like Flamingo Road, Female on the Beach, and This Woman is Dangerous, my personal favorite, far and away, is the movie I have for you today. From 1950, Warner Brothers' The Damned Don't Cry. Now, I'm not saying this is Crawford's best film, but I especially enjoy it because for its star, it is spectacularly self-revelatory. Although Crawford is ostensibly playing a character based on notorious real-life gangsters moll Virginia Hill, in many ways, the story is a none too subtle reflection of the actress's own rags-to-riches saga. She plays Ethel Whitehead, a poor woman latched to a bitter husband toiling in the Texas oil fields. A tragic accident drives her to start fresh in New York as a dress model. That's code, you know. She falls in with a mobster's bookkeeper, and before you can say Lucille Fay LeSueur, Ethel has been transformed into Lorna Hanson Forbes, high society mistress to a notorious gangster, played by Crawford's preferred on-screen paramour, David Bryan.
You didn't waste any time, did you?
I don't have any time to waste.
Gertrude Walker is credited with hatching the idea of a movie based on the exploits of Virginia Hill. Walker had come to Hollywood in the 1930s from Iowa with hopes of becoming an actress, but after a few lean years, shrugged off that idea to become a writer of B-movie stories, including the terrific Railroaded from 1947, one of director Anthony Mann's early gems. Now, I can't report that Walker's story was specifically intended for Crawford because she saw similarities between the two women. Walker toiled several rungs below Crawford in the industry's hierarchy. But there's no doubt Warner Brothers producer Jerry Wald saw the parallels. He's the one who snapped up Walker's idea to craft a vehicle for the actress. Virginia Hill had reached the height of her notoriety in 1947. When her lover, Bugsy Siegel, the man who built Las Vegas, was assassinated in her Beverly Hills home. Subsequent Senate hearings revealed all kinds of juicy stories about Hill's work as a courier and courtesan for the mob. In her rise through its ranks in the 1930s, she commingled with racketeers Joseph Epstein, Joe Adonis, and Frank Costello. She fled the U.S. in 1954, rather than face tax evasion charges, and lived the rest of her life in Europe before dying of an overdose of sleeping pills in 1966 at age 49. In another fictional treatment of her life story, Hill was played by Annette Bening in the 1991 film Bugsy. Walker's story was adapted as a screenplay by novelist Jerome Weidman, and this was Weidman's first screenwriting job. The previous year, his novel House of Strangers was made into a terrific film at Fox by Joseph Mankiewicz. Weidman's most famous work was just around the corner, the novel I Can Get It For You Wholesale, adapted as a film in 1951 from a screenplay by unlikely collaborators Abraham Polanski and Vera Caspary. According to director Vincent Sherman, Weidman had no clue how to craft a concise 100-minute film. So he and Harold Medford collaborated, with Joan Crawford's approval, on turning Weidman's 300 pages of script into something manageable. This was the 5th collaboration at Warner Brothers between Crawford and Jerry Wald. She considered the producer her good luck charm, as he'd made most of the films I mentioned previously. There was a definite formula to the Wald-Crawford magic. A violent opening that sets up the story's flashback structure, Joan's balancing act of toughness and vulnerability, and of course, lots of tempestuous interaction with male co-stars. Once Joan found something that worked, she chewed on it like a junkyard dog, which may have been why The Damned Don't Cry wasn't as big a hit as earlier Wald productions. The public was catching on to the formula. For me, The Damned Don't Cry crackles from start to finish. All of Joan's co-stars give terrific performances, but there's an extra tingle in her taking on rising cinema stud Steve Cochran, who plays a sexy racketeer named Nick Prenta, the character clearly modeled on Bugsy Siegel.
In your crowd, a polite no is enough. In mine, it isn't. The only kind of a no they understand is from the end of a gun.
Now, given the legendary libidos of both actors, I'd bet my bottom dollar there was a dressing room dalliance. And if it happened, it was Crawford's way of making Vincent Sherman jealous, because he was having his own affair with Crawford at the time. They immediately made 2 more pictures together, Harriet Craig and Goodbye, My Fancy. Sherman was a marvel with women's pictures, and his actresses appreciated his affection, attention, and ability. In addition to Crawford, he also had affairs with Bette Davis and Rita Hayworth, all with the knowledge of his liberated and very understanding wife, Hedda. She actually liked and admired this particular other woman, saying, "I guess it's too much to ask of any man that he turned down the chance to sleep with Joan Crawford." Now, I could care less whether it's film noir, a crime-tinged melodrama, or a soapy and spiteful woman's picture. Here is Joan Crawford, feisty and fierce, which is always a wonder to behold. Is she playing Virginia Hill or herself? Either way, The Damned Don't Cry.